Benjamin Brafman joins us right now to talk more about it, and it's good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So the case, putting the 5,000% increase of the drug aside, there's a criminal case and a civil case, and obviously what this criminal case is alleging is a Ponzi scheme.
I think the criminal case is going to be defended, and I think it's viably defensible, and I think we have agreed to defend it in court and not to speak publicly about the criminal case. There's a lot about Martin Shkreli that's been said in public that I think can be discussed, but we're going to stay away from the criminal case itself.
All right, I understand that, but the bottom line is he did have power over this company. Did he use the money to pay back investors who were out?
I think when the facts come out at the trial, assuming there is a trial, I think there is a substantially different view of what happened than what was alleged.
You know, when he spoke to Congress and he was there on the hot seat, everybody talked about the way he handled it, you know, the smirks and the, you know, kept going to the fifth. And they felt that he just wasn't respectful to them.
I think he was respectful. I think he's 32 years old. He's never been in that position. It's a hostile environment. I think the committee was not acting in good faith, in my judgment. They knew he was going to invoke, and I think they brought him there not to get information about Turing's increase in the price of Daraprim. I think they brought him there to publicly humiliate him. And when you're 32 and you have 75 cameras staring you in the face, sometimes a smile or a smirk is a product of nervous energy, and I think he was angry.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I mean, they knew he was going to plead the fifth.
Correct.
They wanted him to go anyway. So how much of this theater was about the fact that they were angry that he took the price of that AIDS drug up 5,000%?
My personal opinion is that the members of the committee could care less. I think this was, for them, a show trial, having Martin Shkreli take the Fifth Amendment. Nancy Retzlaff, who's a Turing pharmaceutical executive, was sitting there. She's not under indictment. She wasn't going to invoke. She could answer every question and did answer every question. They brought Shkreli there just to humiliate him, and that's why both he and I were angry.
So he's not faced that kind of situation before, but you have. You know this, you know, playground, if you will. What did you see differently then than in your past situations in that room?
Well, in most playgrounds where I work, there are rules that allow you to participate. In the House chamber, lawyer, you can be there to advise your client, but you don't have any standing to speak publicly. If I were permitted to address the committee, I think I would have laid bare the hypocrisy and the disingenuous nature of the questions, but they wouldn't let me speak.
Maybe, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm all about free markets all the time, and I, you know, don't want to see caps on drug prices. I think it's wrong because you have to allow the free markets to do it. But also, when you're the person overseeing a situation where you have the drug that people need, isn't there a moral responsibility not to make it inaccessible for people? 5,000% drug increase?
I think, but that's one of the misconceptions, to my knowledge, and I don't represent Turing, and I've only been in this case for 10 days, but to my knowledge, no one who has tried to get the drug has been denied access to it because they couldn't afford it. Everyone has had the drug who has needed it, and there are only a patient population of 3,000 people who use this drug, and this drug works perfectly. After 40 days, the patient is cured. So there's been a lot written about Daraprim, which has really never focused on the fact that there's a small patient population, and big pharmaceutical companies ignore these orphan drugs because there is a small patient population.
Look, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, if it was a larger population, I'm saying to myself, what would he do then? If there were even more people who needed it, he would have taken the drug up 10,000%.
Well, I'll tell you what I see, and it's, you know, the benefit of hindsight is always wonderful, but in my life, knowing a lot about public relations, I would have advised him, if I were in his life at the time, to do a gradual price increase, not a dramatic price increase. Okay. And if it was a gradual price increase, you and I probably not having this discussion.
Yeah, let me go back to working with Martin Shkreli from your standpoint. You told him to be quiet. You said, let me handle all of this, and yet he's still tweeting. He's out there speaking. Give us a sense of who he is. I mean, I feel like our audience knows and they support him. He's been on my show, and I think he's gotten some very good feedback after it. But how has the experience been for you, and what about all this tweeting?
Well, he has agreed not to speak about the criminal case, and he has not tweeted a word about the criminal case. I don't think I have either the power or the right to stop him from tweeting, period.
Well, my favorite tweet was, the only thing I regret about my congressional appearance is not bringing my Nintendo. I mean, I was like, wow.
Well, but Marty Shkreli has a wonderful sense of humor, but he is also a very brilliant young man. And I think, to be candid with you, I think he's going to end up, in my opinion, as someone we speak glowingly about once the criminal matter is behind him and he's allowed to continue his work on developing orphan drugs.
And why do you feel like that? Tell me about Martin Shkreli, what you've learned about him. He also, by the way, called Congress imbeciles, which is another one I...
Well, Congress has a approval rating of 11% throughout the United States. And to be honest with you, the tweets in response to Martin's tweets were, "Go, man, go." So it wasn't as if he was speaking to an alienated public. Right. But I will tell you what I find about him. I find him to be intensely brilliant. I think he is extremely focused on clearing his name. He believes he's done nothing wrong, and I think he grows on you. I think Martin has some very likable qualities when you get to know him on a personal level. And I want to reiterate the fact that he's 32 years old. You know, I'm 67. 32 is a different age when you're suddenly thrust into the spotlight.
Yeah, and you've been around the block in terms of various cases, and it says something that you actually took this case on.
I've represented personalities a lot more difficult than Martin Shkreli, and
Who was your most difficult?
Complicated is the word I would use. Yeah, when I came into the life of P. Diddy, he was a complicated man, and he's turned into one of the most successful African-American entrepreneurs in the history of the world. I represented Dominic Strauss-Kahn, who was going to be president of France. Right. So Martin Shkreli is a challenge, but not an overwhelming challenge.
Ben, really good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ben Brafman. And